This month's Radiant Dawn Holo Forms is going to be having skills up to the Mythic Veil banner because Marla was the last added real unit, and we're going to be having 13 new skills added into the Holo Forms pool, including coveted skills like Attack Res Tempo 4, Bonus Doubler, and also Attack Res Ploy. This is the first time that we're going to be having a mythic unit in Holo Forms, and Yune is going to be there with Chaos Manifest, which does give her +2 resistance, and instead of combat, if her HP is at or above 75%, or if the enemy has any kind of debuff, then she's able to get +6 attack and +5 resistance in combat, and she also gets to make the guaranteed follow-up attack, and she can also get damage reduction in her player phase on foe's first attack, and this damage reduction is going to be dependent on the highest total penalties on the target foe and the foes that are within 2 spaces of them, multiplied by 2. So it's not really all that hard for her to get like 50% damage reduction and even more. And with her weapon Refine, she's able to get another round of +5 attack and resistance, and she's able to get true damage, which is essentially better dominance because it is going to be checking for the highest total penalties on target and foes within 2 spaces of that target. So this pretty much means that if you have to tank Yune, you'll need to have some kind of debuff neutralization status, like from Garrick or Peeny's Remix, and then you need to make sure that you're not within 2 spaces of any kind of ally. Now, a lot of units still don't have that kind of 3-space leniency in their weapon, so they'll have to be near some kind of ally, and that way Yune can get a lot of damage reduction and true damage on them. And we have got a lot of tanks and a lot of units with damage reduction piercing, so you'll have to watch out for them. And even though Yune is not the most insane dark mythic, at the same time she's no pushover because of the debuffs that she can cause and the damage reduction and the true damage that she can get with this kind of weapon. And Chaos Name Plus is one of the reasons why she's a lot better now, because this is essentially a global debuffing skill which is going to be checking for the highest attack, speed, defense, or resistance of the enemy and then debuffing them for -7 debuff for their stat and also for any kind of foes that are within 2 spaces of them, and it also panics them. So it's kind of like the same check as the chill skills but for each stat, and this allows Yune to easily spread the debuffs on the enemies that can also be used by your other allies like Duo Sanaki, for example. And even though we've got Peony with the debuff neutralization, still the panic and the debuffs that Yune brings can be annoying to many teams, and if you're trying to upgrade her, then this is the perfect chance. Unfortunately, she's not going to be able to get Flared Mirror as the slotty skill, and that's why the next best option is going to be Flared Sparrow, because at least you get some kind of pre-combat damage. So it is going to be the best slotty skill that you can get so that you can nuke a lot better in Aetherite's defense, because right now, as of making this video, there is no counter to the pre-combat damage and it is going to be guaranteed to happen. And if you live through it, then you can set up the Flame Terrain, which is going to be even more annoying. If you're trying to double down for more visible resistance, then Still Water could be an option, but ultimately Flared Sparrow is a lot more rare option that you can try and get. And Fire Flood Boost can also be another alternate option if you're trying to get the guard effect out of a slotty skill. And for her slot B, Brashazel 4 can be a pretty nice option because again, Oculus Strike is not available, so you can already stack up that pre-combat damage, and this is pretty much the next best option in my opinion for getting the damage reflection so that you can hit even harder on your double attack, and at least it can provide you with even more damage reduction. And Guard 4 could also be an option which can annoy many of the opponents by making sure that they don't really charge up their specials, and if you're doubling down on the resistance with something like Still Water, then Sabotage Attack Resistance 3 could be an option. And because she's an Aetherite's defense mythic unit, Wings of Mercy 4 is always going to be a slot B skill that she can run. Even if you're always going to be using Chaos Name Plus as her slot C skill, you can still try and get a premium skill on your Forma Yune, just so that you can get the most bang for your buck. And a Ploy 3 skill can be a pretty nice tech option against many of the Legendary Robin teams, and also against bonus doubler opponents with Young Eliwood and Legendary Eliwood, so it is an option that is worth picking up. Guidance 4 and Soaring Guidance are always going to be the options that you can run on any kind of flyer, but I do like the Ploy skill a bit more as the alternate option on Yune. Summer Micaiah is a colorless Mage Cavalier with Moonlight Drop as her preferred weapon, and this can function as a conditional Brave weapon depending on the resistance check, and just like all of the other Micaiah, she has got the trademark effective damage against armored and cavalry foes, and this also gives her minus on special cooldown. So stuff like Moonbow, Glimmer, and Ruptured Sky becomes a 1 cooldown special that she can trigger on her Brave attack. And this weapon is always going to be active in her player phase, and in the enemy phase she needs to be within 2 spaces of an ally. So she can get +6 attack and resistance in the combat, and then she's got an in-combat resistance check, and if her resistance is at or above 5 or at or below 14, then she's able to get the guaranteed follow-up attack, and if her resistance is at or above 15, then she's going to be getting the player phase brave effect, which is of course the effect that we want to get over the guaranteed follow-up attack, because having a brave effect on a weapon like this is a lot better than having the guaranteed follow-up attack. So she wants to be stacking all of the resistance for having this kind of in-combat resistance check, and her preferred skill is definitely pretty old with Maiden Solace and Prescience, which legendary Micaiah has got. So it's not really a skill that is going to be worth keeping, at least with the options that we have got available now. Unfortunately, just like Yune, she's not going to be having access to Flared Mirror or even Occultist Strike. So that's why you can try and stack up her resistance with something like Still Water, because it is going to be helping you with the visible checks for the resistance like Sabotage and Ploy skills, and also for the in-combat resistance check of her weapon. And if you really want to get that damage reduction, then Remote Mirror is going to be the option. And then for her slot B, you can try and run the Sabotage skill so that you can take advantage of the visible resistance stacking, which we're trying to do. And as it is, she doesn't really have too many options as a ranged cavalier. And again, Occultist Strike is not going to be available in this Hall of Forms, so you can try and get this skill, but just keep in mind that the appearance rate of any kind of preferred weapon or preferred skill like Prescience has got a lot more chances to appear than the other skills. So what you can do is try and get the preferred skill first so that you can, prevent it from cluttering up your options when you're trying to get an actual other slot B skill. And for her slot C, you can try and get something like Defense Rest Ploy 3, which is going to be taking advantage of the visible resistance that we're stacking with Still Water, and it is going to be enabling her to get even more mileage out of the player phase brave attack that she can get out of her weapon, because we're able to apply the exposure status with a Ploy skill, and that is going to be giving you 10 true damage per hit. So it's an amazing option not only for Micaiah but also for supporting her allies. So it is pretty much going to be the best thing that you can get for her on a build like this. Summer Elincia is a blue bow archer, and she's present in the Grail pool as well, so if you're trying to plus and merge her, then getting another copy can save you some Grails, and if you've already plus and merged her, then this could be a good chance of getting some premium skills. She does come with Whitecap Bow Plus, which is a pretty decent weapon in itself, giving you +5 attack and speed, and also giving you the player phase brave effect if you meet the in-combat speed check. But nowadays we do have a lot better weapons, especially that you can get in the Hall of Forms. And after this, you can also try and give her the Arcane Dark Bow, but even if you cannot, you can at least try and get White Wind Bow Plus, which is the bow from Windtribe Katria. And this is an amazing bow which gives you extra offenses based on the number of bonus status active on yourself and the negative status effects present on the opponent. It doesn't really have any kind of cap as to how much attack and speed you can get, so in that aspect it is amazing, and it also provides you with 2 visible status effects in Null Follow-Up status and Null Panic. And getting Null Follow-Up on a ranged flyer is amazing on a weapon like this, so it's a solid weapon even if you cannot give her Arcane Dark Bow, which is something that you are not going to be able to get in the Hall of Forms itself. And Deadeye or Ruptured Sky could be the option that you can pick for her special. Flared Sparrow is going to be the option for the slot A for any kind of player phase nuke, as you've seen by now, so it is something you can run. And for her slot B, you can try and run Desperation 4 because she doesn't really have too many options as a ranged flyer, and it does work really well with the Null Follow-Up status from White Wind Bow Plus. And because we're not running Arcane Dark Bow, we don't exactly have the instant desperation of it, so it is a slot B skill you can run. But you can also try and get Brash Assault 4 as the other option, and then Speed Defense Fortress could also be an option, but it's a lot easily available compared to these 2 skills. And Winter Yanaka with Assassin Strike is a unit that we just got, so it is not going to be available in the Hall of Forms, so these are pretty much going to be your best slot B options. And then for her slots, you can try and pick either Soaring Guidance or Guidance 4. I kind of like Soaring Guidance a bit more because if ever you try to give her the fodder of Realm Tana, then you can give her Guidance 4 along with the weapon and attack speed unity. And that's why Soaring Guidance could be another option that you can try and have if you're going to be investing heavily in your Elincia. The final unit of this batch is going to be Desert Nailah as the Red Infantry Beast, who has got Royal Hatari Fang as the 14 might weapon. And this is a pretty straightforward weapon, giving her the counter remaining +1 movement when she's transformed. So getting the Neotrace effect on an infantry unit is kinda rare, so she does appreciate this effect, but all of the other effects are really straightforward, which I think that could be outdone by an arcane beast weapon in the future, kinda like what we had on Aether. So it does give you -1 special cooldown, which is good for making stuff like Luna into a 2 cooldown special. And then she's able to get +5 to all of her stats, and null follow-up effect in the combat. And she's got the Beast Infantry transformation bonus, which enables her to get +2 attack when she's transformed, and also the full tempo effect. So she doesn't really need to run tempo skill or any kind of null follow-up skill because of this weapon. And she can also get +7 true damage whenever she triggers a special. And then she's got her Glare exclusive Slotsy skill, which is not really all that insane, but still can be helpful in many of these scenarios for hit and run, especially because of the Neotrace built in her weapon. So it is going to be inflicting the gravity status on the target and foes within one space of that target. Desert Nailah is definitely quite far away when it comes to getting to her weapon refine, but still you can try and get some premium skills that can make the best out of the weapon that she has got right now. So for her special, unfortunately there are not too many options, and same goes for her weapon, so you can try and focus on your passives. An attack speed finish is going to be an amazing slotty skill that you can get because of the tempo effect in her weapon, and also with the Pledge Slotsy skill that is always going to be giving you that healing and true damage as you're going to be triggering specials. But if you have a high invested Nailah or a max invested one, I think that she can definitely try and run attack speed prime because she's going to be getting that extra status from the Pledge skill, and even though all of her damage reduction is pierceable, she can still try and tank with the distant counter effect of the skill, so I think it's worth considering if you are a big Nailah fan. And then for her slot B, you can try and get Beast Sense, which is going to be helping you get the dodge damage reduction, and it also has Phantom Speed +7 built in, so it can be really helpful for getting more damage reduction. And if you try and give her the dodge status from something like a Tune Peony, then this Phantom Speed is going to be coming into the play. And Counter Roar 4 is also an option that you can run in her slot B, especially at lower merges if you don't really have a lot of confidence in the dodge damage reduction that you can get, because Counter Roar 4 is just going to be giving you 30% damage reduction on foe's first attack, and it also debuffs the foe's attack and speed and gives you the 7 HP healing. And Special Spiral 4 can also be a pretty fun option, especially if you want to do some kind of ether looping with the Pledge skill, so it could come into the play with the damage reduction piercing and making sure you always retaliate back with ethers. And when it comes to the Slotsy, I think that attack speed Pledge is basically the best Slotsy option because not only it's rare, but it also functions really well because of the Null Guard effect that she has got in her weapon with the full tempo effect, and it gives you extra offenses, and it also helps you activate the distant counter effect in your prime skill if you're going to be running that. Next month we should be getting an Awakening Hollow Forms, and we have the scheduled rerun of Legendary Chrom and Legendary Grima matching up for that, so we could have either of the Legendary units or even both of them depending on what they want to do. And if I had to narrow down the potential options to 2 batches, then I would have this batch with Brave Chrom or with Legendary Chrom. So either we get Legendary Grima and Legendary Chrom both, or we could even just get only Legendary Grima because she's going to be as the colorless option and also a magical weapon user of this kind of hollow forms. Usually they always have a mage or a dragon to provide some kind of magical damage source in hollow forms, and Grima is pretty much going to be fulfilling that. And I think that Spring Severa also has a pretty good chance because I think that she can appear in Limited Ephemera Manual in the future. And Brave Chrom can also happen because he is in the Divine Codes and he might be on the footsteps of Brave Marth, who did also appear in the hollow forms not that long ago, and then he got his weapon refine. Similar to him, Brave Chrom is going to be getting a weapon refine next year along with Brave Seliph, so that's why he could also be an option. And Spring Inigo could also happen because he was given to us in the Limited Ephemera Manuals, and next month it is possible to have Rearmed Alchrist or Rearmed Tana be present in the remix banner, so that's why they can just capitalize on that arcane weapon. And then Legendary Grima is something that we can expect because she is pretty old as a Legendary unit compared to Legendary Chrom. But if we were to get Legendary Chrom and Legendary Grima both, then they could try and make a cute theme team with Valentine Lucina, who's also present in the Divine Codes, and also Fallen Male Morgan, who was given to us in the Limited Ephemera Manual. And come back to this video next month to see if I was right or wrong. And if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to share this video with your friends if they're trying to build up any of these holoform CNETs. And if you did enjoy, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, helps you tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks down below or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more FE videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as trying to get Flared Mirror in this holoforms. So with that, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.